So it's Monday. We are drawing Miles Maarav, who is the girlfriend of my character, Ricky B. Rat. Ricky B. Rat's girlfriend's cousin. Anyways, so we've been going kind of alphabetically through with this book project that I started a few years ago now. And excuse me, we are now at the V spread. I don't know if we'll get both pages done tonight, but just because there's going to be a lot of details in this one. What we're starting with first is Miles versus the vending machine. So, I think we've all had the experience of the vending machine catching, kind of messed up that F there, of the vending machine kind of screwing up and holding on to our candy bar, but also not giving any money. So Miles is not impressed with this, and he's going to take matters into his own hands, his own baseball bat, actually. So, but first, I think we're probably going to be spending a whole long while drawing the vending machine because, we got to get the sense of why he's pissed off there. If we have time tonight, we will also draw Miles at the Venetian Carnival. But first things first, the vending machine. So, we've got the coil thingies here. Actually, kind of go across and draw in that line of the shelf. And you know how the coils kind of go, as they go back, the thing gets pushed forward or whatever. So the top is always bags of chips. And I was going to say, we could use some of the fake companies from the Ricky B. Rat world with Rat Olay. Although, Miles is half rat, half mouse, but it depends whether he's doing this in Ratsville or in Mouseland. But yeah, we'll just kind of start chugging away at these. And hello, Zanina Gusian. I hope I said that right. I feel like I probably butchered it, so I'm sorry. Can I draw your name? Sure. Let me find a spare piece of paper. So, Zanina. I hope I said that right, or Zanina. There you go. Welcome to the stream. Should probably actually keep a sketchbook on the desk with me because I've had a few people ask sometimes, can you draw this? Can you draw that? And then I'm always kind of scrambling, going, okay, where did I put my extra paper? So I'll leave that one right over on the side of the desk in case of future requests. So we are back to our vending machine and our pal Miles. Yeah, no problem. Well, welcome to the stream. So we're gonna do like a Rat Doritos, I think. Kind of, a knockoff of Doritos, but now Miles being half mouse, he's probably sitting there thinking that the reason why this vending machine got stuck and ate his money is because it's obviously filled with rat goodies. And thank you. Glad you're enjoying the drawing. So the context for this is I'm working on a short story book featuring Myles, and Lays, spell it differently. And usually, when I'm working on illustrating short stories, I normally start with the story and then illustrate it. But in the case of this book, I decided to kind of randomly pick words for each letter of the alphabet to illustrate, and then I'll come up with the story afterwards. Of course, I am now in on letter V, and that means that I'm going to have to get writing stories real soon. Uh, but what I'm going to do when I finish off the last of this particular phase with the alphabet, um, random words, and then illustrations. Um, I have another project that I'm going to pivot to for a while, and then we will come back to Myles once I have the short stories written. So there's our first selection of junk food. And then you always have like that little thing there, and they've got little signs. I am drawing with India ink using a dip pen, and the paper is Bristol board. This, I think, is should be Strathmore smooth Bristol board. It does kind of look a little different than some of the older smooth Bristol board by the same brand that I have in my stash. Like it's a little bit more like vellum. The older smooth Bristol board was, I don't want to say shiny, but definitely a little different in texture. Hello, Kiwi Tsunami. Kiwi Tsunami. I hope I said that right. Well, welcome to the stream. Do you find with this more pointier nib, if I hold it up, it would kind of show that it does sometimes want to dig into the paper, which is definitely worse if you have Bristol board or like a watercolor paper or something that has kind of like a tooth to it, texture. But even on the smooth, I find it will start to dig in. Um, it is just something to keep in mind. That has that. You mean dip pens and Bristol board? Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun medium. Like, can be a frustrating medium at times, but definitely it has a really cool effect, I find. So, I mean, I also work in marker, it's like full color and stuff. I've done some digital drawing as well, but I always kind of come back to pen and ink. Probably gonna do, yeah, we're gonna color in that. So I'm gonna actually put this nib into, I've got some bowls of water off to the side. So that way when I'm not using it, it's not drying out. And Jamie, what's my age? I am in my late 40s. I will be 48 soon. So, so when did I first start? I probably messed around with pen and ink in high school in the 90s, but I think the first time I was really using it a lot, like seriously, would have probably been with my first webcomic, Selma the Destroyer, which I did from 2006 to 2009, back in the MySpace days. So been using it off and on for about 20 years. The wizard has to go. Well, the wizard is welcome to do whatever he can. It's the algorithm gods that really need to appease. But You know what? I only started, live streaming in January, so I have noticed even this month versus last month, I have more views overall, and, also, like, longer views, like, average view duration is going up and watch hours are going up, so it's getting there. It's slow, you know? Anyways, meme man LOL, welcome to the stream. But yes, we're working on it. Somebody, one of the guys who was in the chat on my Friday stream a few days ago was like, "How do you not have 1,000 subs?" I'm like, "I don't know. Ask the algorithm. We'll get there." You know. Unfortunately, I spent way too long trying to make headway on Facebook before realizing that Facebook is just useless. So um, anyways, it's just now I'm on a new platform, so it takes a little while for it to for the algorithm to figure out what I'm about and therefore decide, oh, okay, that means that these folks would like to see it. You know, it'll come. Sanina says you're Filipino and you speak Bisaya. Very cool. I live on the west coast of Canada, and actually have a growing Filipino population in my town. A lot of people, well, I mean, not super recently, because I have friends who are Filipino who've been here, 30, 40 years, but it definitely seems like more Filipino folks are coming to Vancouver Island and settling. So um, you're definitely getting more here now. I personally, I don't know the difference between. I wouldn't know, Bisaya versus, is it Tagalog or whatnot? I'm sure I'm butchering the pronunciation. Uh, I'm not the best at languages. Hell, I just found out yesterday. Okay. There's one of the things, depending how fast I draw this page, you may get to a second page today in which Myles is like dressed up for the Venetian Carnival. And somehow I was like looking up different characters, and I just learned yesterday that there's actually a Venetian language, like separate from Italian. I mean, it's related to Italian, but it's not, standard Italian. So, uh, like, oh, that's kind of neat. I have no idea about that. Tease. It's a huzzah because it worked. The wizard just said huzzah to cast the huzzah spell. Well, I guess it worked. You just said huzzah 3 times reading this sentence. Yep. We'll see how the subscriber count starts going. It's just a prank. Yeah. Oh, I know. That's fun. And honestly, when you're dealing with some of these algorithms, you start going like, that actually might be the thing that really does work. One of the things I do like with YouTube, though, is that it does seem to be based a lot more on the content of the quality of your content, whether it gets recommended and whatnot, once it kind of figures out what you're about. So, eating chips and me watching. Chips are great. I was actually tempted to get some chips earlier today, and I was like, nah, you know what? I'm going to get chocolate instead. But perhaps the chips probably would have been the better choice, all in all. What do we want to call this bag? Oopsies. Kind of just making up brand names as I go. You're eating Doritos. Oh, I love Doritos. One of my favorite ones. Draw another bag of the cartoon knockoff version here. And because this is a liquid ink and because I'm very messy and I like to draw with my hand right down on the paper, I tend to work top left down to bottom right, but we're gonna do this little background section pretty soon. Although actually, because it's on the side, I can reach that without smearing. So my process with these is I actually just have a flip through a small dictionary when I'm choosing words and kind of write down whatever jumps out at me as something interesting that would be fun to draw, and then I kind of narrow it down at the end. So the other one is going to be Miles in a Venetian mask. I was debating whether I would have him like attacking the vending machine in his Venetian getup, and I was just like, nah. Well, that way usually I don't usually that's a separate, vending machine, but we can draw a soda machine right here. What I will quickly do, and that'll actually be a good way to fill in this corner, is and this might not show yeah, it kinda does show the underdrawing a little bit. So we're gonna have a little gap between the machines, because there's always somebody who's been rocking them. And then we'll do that, and start of another sign that says no refunds. And usually the soda machine shelves are more, you know, spaced further apart. They still have a kind of a screw-like thing around. Although most of the soda machines I've used in recent years, they don't like let it fall down all the way. They'll have like a little arm that comes across and it just kind of tips it into like the little cup and that carries it and carefully brings it down so it doesn't, explode in your face uh, as soon as you pick it up, open it. These bottles all look a little bit melted, but that's fine. And then there would be that. And then here we're just gonna sort of see the bottles poking out, so we'll see them here and there as we go down. On Friday's stream, I've been my other project in this universe is a graphic novel called Ricky B Goes to Sea. And the B story in that one is about, advertising that eavesdrops on you. So the story gets interrupted by these ads throughout. And I'll show you, since you mentioned soda, what I drew on Friday. I had some ads interrupting the main story. Um, and one of them actually was for this drink, Rat Cola. Same high sugar content, now in 3 new flavors, so cherry rat cola, Doctor Rat Cola, vanilla rat cola, and then Ricky works in the music industry, so we have a joke about something that sounds like cola. So oh, spilling Coke, yeah, very annoying, I can relate. We have that, and then we have another row of bottles down here, and that's kinda all we're gonna see of those bottles, so now I can start drawing in that. Now Fanta Trying to remember what the Fanta logo looks like. I think it's kind of a diagonal, so, um, first things first, as we work top down. Be mindful of Miles's ear, because that's we don't want that to get, lost in all this. I gotta clean it. No worries. So we would have the bottle go like that. And before I go further with the thinner nib, I'm gonna come in and black out the box part of the vending machine again, and do that with the fatter nib. And keep you he keeps saying hi. That's fine. I think also, if I'm not mistaken, if you're watching on, mobile, I think it sometimes defaults to a reaction where it's, like, says "hi" instead of, like, the like or whatever, so right. Right. Alright, now back to the skinnier nib, and also, gotta remember I was going to draw in a little, like, credit card slot thing on the first vending machine. Assume that there's some signage there of whatever kind. There. Gonna be a bit sloppy with the rendition of the Fanta logo. Have the sense of it. My American no, I'm Canadian. Although I was born very, very close to the US border. I mean, most Canadians live very close to the US border. Um, so, who knows? Someday I might move there. You never know. Be kinda nice to move somewhere in one of the warmer states where I would never have to shovel snow again, but it's actually kinda hard if you're Canadian to move to the States, so I'm not holding my breath about it, but it would be kinda awesome if it happens. course, the way, certain of my fellow Canadians are, you kinda don't wanna say that out loud to them because it's a bit of a backlash right now. Although it's really nothing new, or, like, even as a kid, I can remember there was you know, kind of, complaining about Americans is kind of one of the big Canadian pastimes, so, even when I was a kid, I'd hear people go, "Why would you wanna move to the States? Blah, 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 blah," and it's like, "I don't know. The weather's better, taxes are better." It's just that's the pros and cons to everywhere, right? But, okay. Whoa, you're really young. Nice. Well, good thing I'm, not drawing anything too spicy then. Actually, pretty much all my projects now are relatively tame. Bring Miles's tail down like that. Your cousin's name, Cedric, is Aguera? Sure. Use a different nib for this. If that one wants to dig in a little bit on the paper in this book. There you go. No problem. Okay, so now we're going to work a little bit more on this machine and kind of go in waves back and forth until we're at the bottom. So one more row of chips, I think. Kind of seems that 3 rows of chips is about standard on vending machines here. Excuse me. Still pollen season here in Canada. Whoever stocked this vending machine did not do it in a logical fashion because you got Ratelet there and Ratritos there and back and forth. So that's kind of noticed that on some vending machines. I mean, ultimately, it doesn't matter. It's whatever is in front in the spot, and you put that number in, and that's what it barfs out at you. So, it doesn't really have to be in a logical, um, orderly manner. In here. Hi, Cedric. How's it going? Welcome to the show. All right. And now outline Miles's ears because we don't want those to get lost in the drawing here. Like our video and draw. Thank you. Should draw the rest of Miles's face, but I should probably do the selection buttons on this first so I don't smudge his face when I'm doing them. Yeah. He came over. Yeah, I'm sure somewhere some game is over. This one's not, but you know. Color in his hair. Tomorrow, yeah, I stream every weeknight. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Um, I stream at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, like West Coast of Canada, North America time. So, uh, I mean, I started about 45 minutes ago. I don't know what the time zone is over where you're at, but yeah, don't. Oh no, I don't stop the videos. Usually I go About 2.5 hours on a usual night, and then, like I said, 5 nights a week. Um, kind of, been debating starting, like, a Saturday or a Sunday stream, but, that tends to be a little harder to schedule, so if I were to start doing, weekend streams, it would probably kind of be a pop-up thing, like, here I am, drawing type of thing, and but not, like, not even necessarily announce it in advance. Uh, so add another bottle in there. A little bit difficult to make out the pop bottle there, but there we go. Yeah, like I mentioned a little earlier, I started streaming only in January, but it's pretty fun. And also, it helps keep me working on stuff because otherwise it's easy to get distracted or be like, oh, yeah, I'm working on such and such a book, but I'll work on it more next week or whatnot. Whereas having this stream, it's like, okay, I gotta go live, and then it's easier to kind of just schedule in. I've gotten so much more work done on my book projects since I started streaming. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. Home Alone. Yeah. See, over in North America, people would freak out about kids your age, but being home alone. But back in the 80s, a million years ago, when I was your age, that was actually pretty common. Parents are working or whatever. Come home from school, hang out, make yourself a snack, and that was pretty normal back in the day. We also got to go wandering around the neighborhood with our friends all on our own, and as long as we were home for dinner, everything was fine. Whereas now, used to work with somebody, um, and his daughter. Like, he would drive her they lived, like, 5 blocks from the school. He would still drive her to school and watch and like, park in the street and watch until he saw her go in the building before he would leave. And somebody's like, "Can't she just walk?" At that point, she was, like, 12 or 13, but he was very, determined that, nope, he was going to drop her off every single day. Video, "Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it." And before I go too much further with that, I'm gonna come over here again so I don't smudge back and forth. So there we go. After 3 rows of chips, I think it's time to start drawing some candy bars in the vending machine, one of which is I don't know how well that shows up on camera, but one of which is, just dangling there. Eating popcorn. Oh, popcorn's a fun snack. Actually, made myself a huge bowl of popcorn last night. It's like, wanted to munch on something. It's like, I don't feel like cooking a proper meal. I was like, "Ah, well, I'm just gonna air pop some popcorn and call it, call it good." And do that. Show up. Miles' shoulder would be a little more like that. Push that pen out a little bit. I had some glass pens that sometimes I'd use for detail work like this, except they fell off the edge of my desk the other day and broke the nibs. So much for that. But I have a couple more on the way back, but I won't have them until next week's shows. All right, candy bars. I'm not gonna necessarily, some I'll probably write names on, but some I'm just gonna assume that the name is too small to be read from uh, the distance that we are viewing this picture. Please draw Rumi. Rumi, you mean write the word, or is that a character? If it's a character, I'm not sure who you mean. Uh, K-pop Demon Hunters. Okay, I would need to. I am not familiar, so I can pull up a reference image and give it a shot. Roomy Demon Hunters. Okay, Mr. Bean, I do know. That is that is old people comic cartoons and stuff like I would definitely know. I'll just set Miles aside for a sec here. So Mr. Bean, let me find a page in here. Mr. Bean tends to have, okay, if you may have to use a different pen. Use a pencil crayon here. So Mr. Bean, I know they did an animated series of him. So he has the but I'm thinking of the actual dude. Uh Mr. Bean with the big bushy eyebrows. And the yeah, this is not really looking very Mr. Bean like, but kind of had a bit of a rubbery face, didn't he? And big ears. uh, the actor Rowan Atkinson, actually used to watch him on like a show called Blackadder back in the day. Such a good show. Also, kind of a little dark, especially the World War I version of it. Mr. Bean. Just trying to think also that tiny car he drove. I feel like this doesn't really look like him very much. I probably need to use a reference photo. His little Ashton Martin. Greatest live streamer in the world. Why, thank you. Now I do have a photo. I think I've seen. Okay, Ruby. I think I've seen this character, just not known what the name was. So her eyes are a little like that. Right. Yeah. Eyebrows are a little arched, and then she's got the purple braid, just like super fat. Like the really tiny, long, thin, but tiny nose. Looks like she kind of wears a turtleneck kind of a idea. And the reference photo I've got, she's wearing a yellow jacket. Got a crop toppy sort of look. It's okay, like, I think it's, I'm trying to draw roomy, but I'm using a very small reference image. Uh, and like I said, I'm, not too familiar with the show. Like, I recognize once I saw it, it's like, "Oh, okay, I think I've seen, like" if they have toys of this character, I'm pretty sure. Human, uh, idol sort of character, and that's where the reference image cuts off. Now I wanna draw Mr. Bean a little better. Uh Mr. B, yeah, okay. Well, it's sort of right. I think I was thinking of a different role of his where he had really short hair instead of, combed over. He has those kind of very distinctive eyebrows, which I forgot, and the big old nose. I was skinnier than I remembered, or at least the photo I've got of him, very skinny. We'll be always be watching. Cool. Friday night streams may not be appropriate for, your ages, I'll warn you that. But, anyways, there's Mr. Bean, he's got, his, teddy bear, and yeah. So, now let's get back to Myles. Myles breaking about to break stuff as the old, well, you guys are probably too young to be familiar with the, Linkin Park song. No, it wasn't Linkin Park. Now I sound out of touch. Fred Durst. What was Fred Durst's band's name? Limp Bizkit, like 30 years ago. Now, so let me see. I'm gonna draw that maybe we've got some peanut butter cups here. Doesn't really look like that, but you know. You know, we've got one more road to go down before we get to the why of why Miles is so angry. I think I said already. Machine ate his dollar and is not giving him his candy. Who are we kidding? Candy bars are like $2 now at vending machines. It's getting ridiculous. They're supposed to be peanuts, but you know. Lara, do I know Cat's Eye? I can look her up. Uh, that's a group, right? No, I am not familiar with them. Uh, Girl group based in Los Angeles. Yeah, I am way out of the loop with girl groups. I'm out of the loop even with, rock groups. What was the last? Although I can't say I haven't heard any new music, but it's more like new to me. Like one of the streamers I watch, he's like a adult comedy streamer. He sometimes plays stuff by like bands that are big with their own following, but still kind of smaller, like Chromeo, Connor Price, Grizz, a band called the Floozies. Like, stuff that, honestly probably came out, like, a dozen years or so ago, but, I was like, "Oh, this is cool. I have never heard this band. Now I'm gonna go listen to them on Spotify." So, yeah, the, girl and boy group thing kind of missed my generation. My younger cousin, was really into, and this is gonna sound like old lady stuff when I say it now, but, at the time, it was the young hot thing, Spice Girls. My younger cousin was obsessed with them, um, whereas I was of an age where I listened to, like, Guns N' Roses and stuff like that, which I probably shouldn't have been doing at, a young age, but, things were different in the 1980s. They probably wouldn't have been different if my mother ever heard the actual lyrics for half of that stuff, but I do remember in the '90s, like, we had the Spice Girls, you had a bunch of, girl and boy groups, coming up, and then, rock and roll and metal and stuff kind of went away for a while. Um, this tag's a little bit smaller. Alright. You're almost across to where we can start drawing the baseball bat. Miles is behaving very badly, or he's about to. Actually originally planned I was, going to draw Miles doing a running, flying kick into the vending machine, and I thought that would kind of you'd see the back of him as he's kicking, so that visually works better if he's gonna take a swing at it with a bat, because then we can see his face, which makes for a better drawing, in my opinion. Alright. Still got more candy to draw. Maybe this one's gonna just be like a package of gumballs or something. So it's like, "That's okay, no worries about the dislike, you can always, press it again and it goes away." Um, or if you then press the like button, then that cancels out the dislike. But I don't get too, worried about, likes or dislikes. I mean, the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize, like, obviously you did that as a mistake, but, like, if people deliberately press the dislike button, all the YouTube algorithm recognizes is that the person interacted with the video. So it's kind of funny, because I know at times people have been like, "Oh, if you're mad at so and so, press the dislike button." It's like, nah, it actually helps the algo just as much. So now, now we're getting to Miles's candy bar, which is stuck. We don't know what kind it is exactly, but your cousin, I think I did, but I can try it again. Zenon, all right. Yeah, there you go. I guess Cat's Eye are a pretty big band then, eh? Like I said, I'm a little out of the loop, but actually this summer I'm going to be volunteering for a couple different like local summer camp kind of things that we have here. One's like a Bible camp at my church, and one's at the local art gallery. So I will be teaching, a little bit of cartooning and arts and crafts to kids actually your age. So I was thinking I probably need to do some research as to what's popular now because otherwise I have no clue, right? But I will make a note. Rumi. Okay, I know I've seen that character before, so I'll have to store that away so I don't sound completely out of the loop when I'm talking to you kiddos. Of course, one has to be careful too, because otherwise you start sounding like when I was a kid, sometimes the most annoying thing would be, adults trying to sound like they were with it. It's like, all right, now we're going to carry on and do that. We may only get through the one drawing today. We'll kind of see. Because I think the other drawing of Miles, when he's dressed up for the carnival in Venice, I think that one's probably going to take a good hour. So uh, we'll see if I get this one done in the next 15 minutes. I don't believe it. He hit me. But he hit me. Don't believe that. Ah, come on. Don't be whacking. Don't be hitting each other. Don't leave me. I'll be able. No. Oh. Straighten out the line of this other vending machine, the soda vending machine. And going to need a bigger nib. And the implication here is going to be that this is a Louisville Slugger bat, but I'm not going to actually draw it as a Louisville Slugger bat because that would probably be some copyright and trademark issues. So Miles's hands are that's actually a little too big for his hands, so we'll shave them down just a wee bit. Stop saying. Ah, I see. The chat comments are song lyrics, are they? Okay. Now here I'm just gonna fill in just with the fatter nib. Gives a bit of a different look where the highlights are a little blockier versus if I went through and like did what I did on Miles's lapels and colored things in first with a thinner nib and then blocked them in with the bigger one. Just kind of ends up looking a little bit more sort of shinier, but sort of softer too. So do I understand Bisaya? No. No, I being here in Canada, I am in theory I ought to speak French. I don't. We took it in school. So I'm basically just an English speaker. I often try to learn other languages, but languages are not a talent that I really have. So you'll teach me? Well, you can try. I I often do take I have over the years taken different language lessons and whatnot, and I get a few words here and there, but I tend to not pick languages up at all in the long term. Say this, ako ay guapa. Now I know in Spanish, guapa means pretty, right? Oh, okay. There Cedric said, "Kaya, you are beautiful." Okay, so ang mina na ako ay guapa. Okay, so I guess then there's a few words that are similar to Spanish then, eh? Like a little bit of Spanish influence, because guapa would be beautiful in Spanish. know a few words in Spanish, but I am not really a good Spanish speaker either. Used to speak a little bit more Spanish many years ago, but don't practice it much. So, miles of his bat. Let's kind of give it some wood texture. All right. Two more rows of candy bars or candy packs, whatever. Guapa means pretty. So yeah, okay. Yeah, definitely related to Spanish a little bit then. Like most of the Spanish I know though is stuff that I used to many years ago I had an iguana for like 10 years. So um so I used to have used to talk to her a little bit in Spanish because I was trying to learn it at the time. But of course, most of the things you would say to an iguana wouldn't really be things you would appropriately say to a human, like "ba to howla," "go to your cage." She didn't listen to it, like, she didn't obey it, but, definitely not the sort of thing you would say in polite conversation with other people. "Hi, Pokey," and is also "You're beautiful." Okay, cool. Yeah, let's draw some more peanut butter cups here. Never have enough peanut butter cups. Watched for an hour, and hey, I appreciate it. It's always nice to have folks in the chat. Although I've had occasionally get somebody if they watch and then they're kinda in and out of the room, they're like, "Oh, no, you kept talking, I wasn't there in the chat, I didn't mean to leave you hanging." It's like, that's fine because I also have people who, will watch after the stream is over. What I do is I let it process overnight, and then I, make it public, so people can watch the replay, so, even if I'm kind of talking to myself when it's live, then somebody's watching on the replay and I'm talking to them. So, but even so, it's definitely fun to have folks watching live as well and participating. So let's draw some Twizzlers. I guess those kind of could look like Twizzlers as well. Kind of fun with these kind of drawings. Like, I like having a balance between ones like this that are super detailed, or like a couple, 3 or 4 weeks ago when I was doing the scuba diving scene where it took, 2 hours per page because there's so much detail. Those are fun to do every so often. And then I balance out with drawings that are bolder and have less detail that go a lot faster. Because then, by when this book is all ready, which, probably be maybe 2027, probably 2028 by the time I get all the stories written and all that, and then additional round of illustrations, then there's some visual interest. Like I find if too many of the drawings are too small, yeah, no worries. Bye. Thank you for stopping by. Stop again whenever. Like I said, I do stream Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Um, and we will see you again real soon. Take care, kids. Um, and what I was saying is it's kind of nice to have the variety in textures. Um, 'Cause it gives a little visual interest. If you have something where the project is 100% super detailed drawing, it can start to feel really dense. Um, and at a certain point, too, then you kind of like the details there, and when somebody's looking at it, then they can, spend time poring over the drawing. But also, it can start to feel a little bit claustrophobic. So then you balance that out with drawings that are a little more simplified, that have more breathing room and whatnot, and a bigger impact. But if you only have ones that are, breathing room and impact, then that gets kind of tiring in its own way. So, anyways, point is, it's great to have a variety. Um, I want the where the coin return would be if it was going to give Miles his coins back, which it's not. I have that right there. And I like to leave the little white sliver because that pops him out. I may end up tidying that up in Photoshop at the end of the day. What are we doing for time? So we've been working on this one for um, an hour and 15 minutes. We'll see. I think at this point I've got one more line of candy, but it's going to go a little faster now because, the really detailed kind of areas are done. So I think we will end up getting to that second drawing of Miles um, ready for the Venice Carnival. Plus, I would kind of like to get that one done because, this being my Monday project, when it's done, then I have room for a different Monday project. And I got one on the docket, so to speak. So we're going to yeah, because let's see here. After this, we got W, X, Y, and Z. So 4 more weeks on this phase of Miles Marav's Pursuit of Happiness book. And then what's going to happen at that point is I'm going to um, stop streaming on this thing, but the Monday streams will continue. But I need to go through the drawings, decide what I'm going to do for stories. Then I got to write the stories, and then we'll probably have some more illustrations for it as I get the book finished, right? Um, so, okay, yeah. Um, anyways, so that needs some time to cook, so to speak. And what I'm going to then start doing is I'm actually working on setting up a weekly newsletter, which I'm hoping to launch well for June 1st, which I guess is a week from today. Um, Still got some stuff to write for it, so maybe like the second week of June, but pretty soon. And initially, the what they call the reader magnets, like kind of the free enticement to sign up for the newsletter is that I have 3 coloring pages. Um, that I will put up so that if you sign up for the newsletter, then you'd get the email with the link to download. And then a little on what they call an onboarding sequence. If you sign up for a newsletter and sometimes you get like 3 emails in a row every couple days, um, they call that an onboarding sequence where you're kind of like introducing yourself and whatnot. Um, and kind of letting people know what the newsletter is about and all that jazz. But down the road, what I want to do for my reader magnet freebies is something a little more substantial. But I have to do it. And what I'm going to do is for each of my current three main projects, Noah's Archipelago, Ricky B. the Rock and Roll Rat, which Miles is part of the Ricky world, and Zommel the Destroyer, I'm going to be doing taking some short stories, one of which I've completely written. Like it's a one that I wrote ages ago. That's The World According to Zommel. And then I've got one, I think I talked about it on a pre actually, I think I talked about it on my weekly art and illustration recap video, which is actually on my other channel, Pura Draculea Art Vlogs. But I think on my main channel there's a playlist called weekly work recaps or art and illustration recaps, and it should have the link to that. Anyways, point is I have a little piece that I'm writing, which is spoofing music journalism, when they write the puff pieces about rock stars. But I'm doing that about as if the piece is about Noah's Archipelago, like Noah Thorson. So I'm gonna finish writing that and then illustrate it. So that'll be the Noah one, and then Ricky B. the Rock and Roll Rat. I'm kind of debating what I'm gonna do with that because I have a couple different options, but I think I'm gonna write something new and it's gonna kind of be a bit of an origin story. Um, so, um, and then that would also be illustrated. So we will be working on the illustrations for those. Um, in fact, for the Zommel the Destroyer one, this week, on this coming Wednesday, I am going to be doing some bonus illustrations for the Zommel book that I'm working on, which is going to be diagrams of Zommo's secret basement lab. And then I think that's going to be it for the first Zommel book. I think all my other content is done. I don't think I'm going to add too much in the way of like bonus material and extra drawings because it's going to be kind of a big, yeah, it's going to be a decent sized book. So then that means that next week I would presumably start on illustrating The World According to Zommel. And yesterday I went through it, did some minor edits on the piece, and made a list of the illustrations that I want for it. So then, so that one we will start, first Wednesday in June. And then the Noah one will start later in June, and the Myles and Ricky one at the end of June as well. So we will be kind of working on those illustrations for a couple months or something like that. Um, they won't all be like full page illustrations like this. Some of them will be half, anyways. So that's kind of what's going to be coming up for those projects. But our Myles stuff is going to start being that illustration pretty quickly. Anyways, I'm gonna start drawing in Miles's pants here. I'm gonna make these dark as well, but I just want to get some texture, kind of like I have in his hair or whatnot, for when I darken it in, so it's not like a solid black. Because he usually actually wears gray slacks, is usually what I draw him in. But You can kind of tell by Miles is a little bit of a pudgy dude, so he's annoyed that he does isn't getting his candy bar. Also, he loves money, so he's annoyed that it ate his dollar. Um, so let's see here. I'm going to have a little bit of highlight and then boop. Yeah, similarly over here, and then that one's going to have that door just kind of also comes in, and then I'm going to work on this with the well, gonna kind of add some shading in Miles's pants like this before we switch over to the fatter nib. Hey, Hockey, how's it going? Welcome back. Miles is practicing a somewhat different sport or he's about to on this vending machine that's got his candy bar stuck and is not giving him his dollar back. After all, he could try and body check it, but then the vending machine might fall over onto him, which is not good. I heard a stat one time that was kind of crazy to think about that more people are killed by vending machines by tipping over than are killed by sharks every year. Although I suppose there's probably far more people who rock a vending machine each year than would get too close to a great white. So, all right, now that that's running out of ink, now we can use it to shade Miles's pants. It's gonna kind of make him look like he's wearing leather pants to some extent, but almost done. Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is the part of the drawing that's gonna go a lot faster, so, And then I think I'll have time. I'll end up running a little longer than I usually, would go, but I think I will, start on that, second drawing. 'Cause that one's not gonna be as detailed as this. Well, that's not spreading the way I want it to, but that's what the brush is for. Don't normally use a brush with these drawings just because they can be a little bit unpredictable. But in a big area like this where I want it fairly well covered, I don't necessarily want too much in the way of like big gobs of ink because sometimes those dry kind of funny and then crack and whatnot. Sometimes you just gotta go for it with the old brush. Pinky promise. I will be, unless I am sick, I am definitely drawing tomorrow night. Um, and I don't plan to be sick, and I am not currently sick, so I'm pretty sure Yeah, what I'm gonna be doing tomorrow night is, project that's actually marker drawings in full color with a different set of characters, from my Noah's Archipelago comic. And I was formerly calling it the, Noah's Archipelago 2027 calendar project, and then I decided I'm not gonna actually do it as, like, a annual calendar. I'm gonna do what they call a book of days. So it's kind of gonna be I'll still continue on in the short term, the next few weeks with, um, you know, we're gonna be drawing the August image for tomorrow, and, then work through the other 5 months of the year for the next few weeks. But then I'll kind of be working on a different project, and then we're gonna come back and start doing smaller things. One of the things with Noah is he's kind of really into, the kind of fake holidays like National Blueberry Cheesecake Day, those sorts of things. So the book's gonna kind of play with that. Um, but yeah, we are definitely streaming tomorrow. Yeah, let's go make these feet kind of black as well. What am I drawing tomorrow? I am drawing um, it's my character Noah from a webcomic I was doing called Noah's Archipelago. And what is it? I believe he is sitting in a pool floaty. Well, I haven't finished this drawing. Okay. I have to finish the underdrawing tomorrow. He's sitting at a pool floaty having a nap while his daughter is getting ready to blast him with a super soaker and wake him up. So it's just kind of a recurring gag from the comic. A bit of a messy texture on the ground, but that's fine. All right, I think those vending machines are done. So now we're going to go on to the other V drawing, which is also Miles, but Miles wearing a mask because he is at the Venetian Carnival. Uh, and the character he's dressed up as, number one like this, awesome. The character that Noah, not Noah, it's talking about Noah in the context of tomorrow's stream, but Miles, he is dressed up as a character, old commedia dell'arte character named Pantalone. Um, He's kind of this, merchant character, kind of greedy and uh, badly behaved, which kind of fits Miles's personality, honestly. He's got his kind of a Greek style wool cap, although from this angle you can't really tell, but um, the traditional cap for Pantalone would kind of be like that, and then it kind of has like a bulb end on the end. Um, and then Miles is wearing a mask. I'm kind of debating. I've got him drawn as if he's wearing his glasses over the mask, but I may decide to not put those in. We need to show that the mask has a ribbon tied around it and Miles's hair, like that. Can I show you the names? Sure. Uh, you mean you guys' names that I drew already? There you go. And if you meant the character name is, well, Miles is the character I'm drawing, but he's dressed up as an ancient kind of Italian character named Pantalone uh, from the Commedia dell'arte, which is kind of like If you've ever seen, like, Punch and Judy kind of, puppet shows, Punch is based on one of the commedia dell'arte, characters named Punchinella, or Punchinello, um, and yeah, so they were these kinda, like, weird pantomime kinda characters, and sometimes people at the Venetian Carnival will dress up like these characters in their masks and whatnot, as Miles is doing, so it's a kind of a drawing that looks a little weird on its own, but, it will be accompanied by, a short story, which would, in this case, explain Miles talking about the time he went to Venice, um, for the carnival, and dressed up as this obnoxious, rude character, which kind of works with Miles's personality, so and this mask is gonna kinda squish his whiskers, which maybe that's why he's annoyed, because that's probably not very comfortable, but there we have it. And he's got his, Pantalone is usually drawn wearing, like, the cap would be red, the mask could be different colors, sometimes they're kind of brownish, sometimes they're gold, sometimes they're red, sometimes they're white, um, and then the cape, or cloak would be black, and then his jacket would be red, and his pants would kinda be red. Shoes are yellow for some reason, um, but of course, it's a black and white drawing, so it doesn't really the color is kind of irrelevant here. Bye. Alright, go have a night good night, have a good sleep. Take care. So, he's got his cape, and I just realized well, I guess it depends. I'm kind of envisioning it as like a two-tiered cape. So he's got this part, but then in the back. So that might be kind of just in the back because the tiers might kind of go like that, as opposed to sometimes where it would go all the way around. But I think it's going to be simpler if I just draw it like the only part that's across his chest in front is this upper cape, and the other just hangs down the back. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. We're gonna have to navigate around his whiskers when we're coloring this in, but it's funny. I don't remember the context, but I remember probably more than 20 years ago, 25 years ago, doing a bunch of reading about commedia dell'arte, and I had kind of completely forgotten about most of it until when I decided I was gonna draw Miles, at the Venice Carnival. I was looking at, different kind of masks for the carnival, and course, wanting to see some of Miles's face, so, like, a mask wasn't gonna cut it, right? and some of the other masks weren't gonna work. And then I read about this Pantalone one. I'm like, "Oh, I remember all the commedia dell'arte stuff." Been a long time since I read about it, but, you know, anyways, uh, so now this particular book is going to be a black and white book, which kind of, in a sense, is like it's a little unfortunate for some of the drawings, but the reason why I'm doing that is just because, well, color printing is frickin' expensive. I don't wanna have to charge, like 40, $50 for a book just to 'cause I will be self-publishing these, so, through Amazon KDP, so, you have the printing costs, you have their royalty rate, all this stuff, right? So, especially because the Noah book, like, I'm working on a, collection of Noah comics, that's in full color because the Noah stuff is always in full color. And then this Book of Days project that I'm going to switch to in lieu of the 2027 Noah calendar. I'll talk more about that on tomorrow's stream. Um, the work I've already done for it is in full color, and I think it's going to be a more impactful book if I do it in full color. Unfortunately, that means it's going to be an expensive book. So, anyways, point is, we're doing line drawing for this stuff. For most of the other books so that I can have them be a little more, reasonable in cost, but, yeah. Oh, and the other thing I gotta think about working ahead 'cause, we've got some stuff that pokes out in front. So, Pantalone is usually drawn well, at least at some points in his history, was drawn with a belt with a sword on it, as well as what they call a strategically placed money bag. So, or codpiece. Well, it's not a codpiece. Well, I guess codpieces were money bags at one point, and then they just kind of became for decoration and showing off and false advertising. So, anyways, so Miles being dressed up as Pantalone, I figure he should be wearing. Presumably, this is not a real sword, but here we have it. Who's that? Is he from? Hi, Johnny. Is he from a cartoon? Yeah, he's one of my cartoon characters named Miles. And then in the context of this one, he is wearing the mask. He's at the Venice Carnival, so he's dressed up as a character named Pantalone, who is one of the old Italian commedia dell'arte characters from like the Middle Ages. So it's kind of like a cartoon character dressed up as a cartoon character. That's a drawing I just finished of Miles in his normal garb, about to have an incident with a vending machine that stole his money and won't give him his candy bar, but same dude, just wearing a costume for Venetian Carnival. And the project is for a collection of illustrated short stories narrated by Miles. So he will be, well, I haven't written this story yet, but he will be telling us about his trip to Venice and about the his frustrations with the vending machine and whatnot. Uh, so, yeah, yeah, he's a original character. Yeah, um, he's part of a project that I'm working on called Ricky B. the Rock and Roll Rat. Miles here is Ricky's girlfriend's cousin, so. That's how he kind of fits in. But this particular book project that I'm working on today was kind of come up with before I decided he was part of the Ricky world. So, and he is half rat, half mouse. Uh, Kind of a spoiled rich kid, brat sort of dude with a bad temper. Although the current project is Miles Marav's pursuit of happiness. So the overall thing is Miles trying to figure out things that make him happy and whatnot. You would apparently the Venice Carnival not so much because of the crowds, I guess. Um, it's- and vending machines not so much because they steal his money and don't give him the candy. So it kind of depends on the actual drawing. Some of them he's happier than others. Of course, when you're trying to write funny characters, sometimes the funniest thing is to make your characters miserable because it's funny for the reader, even if the character wouldn't find it funny. We want to show his cape coming down like that. Just gonna finish off the fine line stuff, and I'll work on his cape more with a fatter nib to give it kind of more of a velvety kind of texture. Um, And as far as why he's squatting down, Miles normally wouldn't, but because he's dressed up as the commedia dell'arte character Pantalone, Pantalone was always kind of shown as like hunched over and waddling kind of a movement. So he's aping that. I pick rats and mice for my OC. Well, I always joke that they picked me. There's a couple things to it. One, these guys evolved from a sketchbook I was working on in like 2023, where it's actually drawings of Bono from U2. But when I had the idea, I was like, I am way too old to be filling sketchbooks with rock star drawings. And but then I don't know, I was kind of around I think the time when Disney had a change of CEO, so there's a lot of Disney news in going around, and I guess my brain was like, "Oh, Bono mashed up with Mickey Mouse." So that was the original premise of that sketchbook, and then these guys both kind of mutated out of there. But also, I think another reason is my house is like 120 years old, 125 years old. And when I got it was more of a fixer-upper than I realized. And the previous owner had insisted there were no pest problems except when I got possession of the house. It was like all the cracks and crevices, there was mouse poop and rat poop everywhere. And then I ended up doing a lot of fixing up on it. My dad ended up putting traps in the basement. So we killed a lot of mice and rats. So I kind of made the joke with friends of mine. It's like Ricky and Miles are like the revenge of all the rats and mice that used to live in my house that got killed. So 'Cause I definitely hadn't had any intention of having rat and mice characters, and then it just kind of a whole bunch of weird things randomly came together, and here we are. And then you get weird things, like, as soon as I first started, like, Ricky is, let me pull up a drawing of Ricky. Um, Ricky's more of a rat dude, and he's also a punk rocker. So, he's sort of the main character. Um, what was I gonna say about that? Um, but yeah, you also kind of think about punk rock, especially the more like kind of gutter punk type of thing. Rats are kind of part of it. So, anyways, there's a drawing of Ricky passed out on his floor. As fated they chose you. Yep. Uh, anyways, as soon as I first started posting to my friends on Facebook about this new project, then Facebook will take what you post and then they want to show you all sorts of related content. So I started getting um, notifications from groups of like people who have pet rats and finding out all this stuff about rat and mouse behavior, and which was kind of fascinating. So yeah, I mean, I still do not want any rats and mice in my house, but they can live elsewhere, and I will live in peace with them, but, in my house, just the cartoon variety, I guess. But anyways, this is kind of funny, like, Ricky likes getting drunk with his friends and whatnot, and here I'm thinking like, "Oh, well, obviously this is fiction." And then I'm seeing, like, Facebook posts from these rat behavior groups, and people are talking about, like, "Oh, I let my, rat run around, after dinner and whatnot, but I'm, like, having a beer with dessert and talking to my family or glass of wine or whatnot. The rat runs over, like, sticks his head into the glass and, like, chugs." You know? And I'm looking like going, "I thought see, I wrote stuff about Ricky chugging beer, but I thought I was writing fiction. Apparently, they actually do that." So yeah. Well, it is one of those things. Sometimes the fates have a very strange sense of humor. Uh, Miles is wearing these kind of pointy-toed, I think the descriptions for the commedia dell'arte character all say, like, Turkish style. Um, they're supposed to be bright yellow shoes with a red outfit and a black cape. Of course, it's black and white, so we'll just have to use our imagination with that, but there we have him. Real life imitator. Oh, totally. Yeah. It's like a friend of mine, I don't think she works there anymore, but she used to work for a company that, sold, like, automotive repair stuff, and there was she would say, like, the warehouse had issues with rats running around. Excuse me. But there was this one particular chemical, which is apparently toxic, at least to humans. Like, there's, like, warnings on it, like, "Don't drink this, blah, blah, blah." And, like, they would find the containers chewed, and, like, rats would be, like, chewing to get into this stuff to drink it, but the rats didn't seem to die from it, but they got really wasted off of it. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking, back when I lived in Vancouver, some of the, live music venues I used to go to and see, like, trashy punk shows and whatnot. I'm pretty sure every single one of them had a rodent infestation problem. And, in the comic, Ricky likes going to punk bars and listening to bands and whatnot. So Miles is more of a snob, so he's probably more of a jazz and classical music kind of guy. But yes, hi Leaf. Yes, this is a character I invented. His name's Miles. Now here he's drawn. It's kind of like a character in a character because he's supposed to be at the Venice Carnival dressed up as as an old Italian commedia dell'arte character named Pantalone. Um, this is what Miles looks like when he's not wearing a mask, about to have a little incident with the vending machine that stole his dollar and won't give him his candy bar. But yes, he's part of one of my comic worlds. Uh, share how I came up with him and why? Sure. So the main character for this world is named Ricky B. Rat, or Ricky B. the Rock and Roll Rat. And Ricky's girlfriend is Miles's cousin. But initially, they were in separate projects. What it was is I had this sketchbook project where I was practicing figure drawing and I was using photos of Bono from U2 just because I had access to a lot of them from fan groups. Um, but when the idea first came to me initially, I was like, I am way too old to be filling sketchbooks with drawings of rock stars. And then somehow the idea came to me to do a Bono mashed up with Mickey Mouse thing. I think it was around the time that Disney had a shakeup in leadership. So there's a lot about Disney in the news. That's my guess. Anyways, I started drawing Bono as a mouse, which is just completely absurd, right? And then but it was funny, and, as I kind of worked on that, I'd have these little characters that would kinda mutate, so Miles doesn't really look like Bono anymore, but he evolved out of some, like, random cartoon mice men that I would draw around the Bono stuff. Ricky also evolved from Bono. Ricky specifically kind of evolved from, like, Bono in the early '90s had a phase where he had this character he would do on stage called The Fly, who was wearing, like, a leather outfit. Ricky evolved out of that, although Ricky very quickly mutated into kind of a Sid Vicious wannabe. Who says anyone is too old to draw rock stars if that's what you like? Well, it is. I guess what it was at the time I kind of had ideas about being a more, serious painter or whatever, I don't know. Whereas when I was thinking of times, that I drew more, although I was drawing a lot at the time, but I was drawing a lot of, like, digital stuff, and then to my brain, it's like it felt like I wasn't really doing art just because I didn't have anything physical to show for it. So, isn't it a yes, this is, that's the finished one. So now we are drawing, Miles at, the Venice Carnival. Anyways, Leaf, so I was kinda thinking of times when I used to do a lot of rock star drawing, and it was, like, in high school, so I guess that's why I was kinda like, "Oh, I'm too old for that. I am mature now," you know? But the thing is that that's loads of fun. So, although, I mean, it has some downsides, for example, I mean, obviously, in that case, I was working from, not my own reference photos, so, like, from a copyright perspective and whatnot, not the greatest thing to do, although for, practicing figure drawing and whatnot, it worked great. One of the reasons why I kinda liked doing that Bono project was because he is so famous that, there's photos of him that are, like, the pose, "I'm so cool," like, posed promotional photos, and then, of course, there's probably thousands of photos of him on stage running around from all different angles. But then also there's like paparazzi photos where he presumably didn't know he was being photographed and whatnot. And I will say, if you're trying to draw somebody like eating and have it actually be realistic, paparazzi photos of celebrities eating at restaurants are great because all, like, the stock photo images, it's all people kinda mugging for the camera because 'cause they're not really eating. Whereas, like, I've seen photos of Bono where he's, like, almost going cross-eyed looking at whatever he was stuffing in his mouth, and it's like, "Oh, well, that's a real," that's way more realistic, Um, and then, you also get, where for action poses and whatnot, it's really good because, he's running around and then the photographers are either down in the photo pit or it's people using telephotos from a distance and whatnot. You get all sorts of really interesting dynamic poses that, if you go to a life drawing class and the person's trying to hold a pose for like 30 minutes, like they're basically going to be standing in a certain way or sitting in a certain way because otherwise they can't maintain it. Whereas with photos, um, that's good. Anyways, it was a sketchbook project, and then these guys mutated out of it. Um, so it was definite. It turned out to definitely be worth doing. But yeah, that was another reason why Johnny was asking about why I was doing stuff with or how I came to have rats and mice as my main characters. I guess it's that Mickey Mouse connection for the Bono stuff. What pens and pencils or ink am I using? Sure. So my underdrawing, which probably doesn't show very much, is a non-photo blue pencil. I tend to use Prismacolors, so it's PC 919. The idea with this is if you're drawing in black ink over top of it, and then you scan in black and white, this will disappear. Now, if you scan in grayscale, you'll just have a light gray. But if you scan black and white, it should knock it out. So this is part of like a traditional comics process. Well, I don't want to say too traditional, but like going back to like the era of Xerox machines and all that. Use this because the Xerox machine wouldn't pick it up. Um, and then on top of that, what I'm using is India ink, and the particular brand I'm using is Demco, um, which is waterproof. So this has like a shellac base. Once it dries, it's waterproof. It won't smudge. Um, a lot of people use Speedball Super Black. I have some of it. I haven't been at. I don't know if they changed their formulation somewhere in the last 5 years, but I mean I've been using Speedball Super Black since probably the 1990s. But in the last few years, I found it more and more frustrating where it's either like kind of runny and comes out kind of charcoal instead of black, or at some point then it like I guess enough water evaporates out and it thickens up, but then it'll be like kind of like snot. Like that's not the nicest way to put it. But anyways, when I switched to the Demco a couple months ago, I've been liking that. Yeah, scanner, for sure. Um, like a scanner, yeah, that's like I have I forget the model number, but it's like an HP that's like an all-in-one, like, where it'll photocopy, it'll scan, and it prints either black and white or color. So that's what I'll use with the Canon, or not the Canon, pardon me, the HP Easy Scan app. So I'll import it my my computer, and then if I'm not happy with it, I can fix it in Photoshop. But at least then scanning black and white, like most of the little blue lines should be gone. Um, and then for the pens and whatnot, I've got tons of different nibs for these dip pens. Like there's a little sculpture I did. This is supposed to be Miles's dad, Larry. I had a ceramics class I was taking a couple years ago. But I've probably got, I don't know, 20 nibs in there, and then other packs of different sizes and whatnot. A good basic one is Speedball makes a pen and nib set called the cartooning kit. It's like, I don't know, about 20 bucks. You can get them on Amazon, and that'll give you a variety of nibs to get started. And then, over time, I just gradually um, sort of found the ones I like best. So, like, this is, well, it's covered by ink right now. I think this is a B1 or something like that. Yeah. B1 or B0. Well, the B0 I think is quite big. It's like a 1/4 inch across, but this is a B1. Um, and then the narrower one that I use more for my line work, I don't know if this one's actually a speedball. this Speedball cartooning kit has ones that are similar to this, but this is like a really big version, which might be a different brand. Um, so yeah, and you can also with the dip pens, some people like acrylic ink, like Liquitex. I've got just a couple around kicking around on my desk. I have not handy where I can show it easily on stream, but I have like a whole bin of different colored acrylic inks, um, which are nice for their own vibe, right? You just have to be like I find with the indie ink, what I do when I'm not using a pen, and this is kind of gross because I've been drawing for like 2 hours now, but I have a few little bowls, cheap glass bowls that are filled with water, and then I just leave my pens sitting in them because then the ink doesn't get a chance to dry out. And then, at the end of the night, which we're getting pretty close to actually. The end of the night, I keep my ink in a shot glass when I'm drawing because then it's easy to dip and whatnot as opposed to in that bottle. Uh, but this stuff is still good as long as it's liquid. So the excess I will pour back into this bottle and then I'll just shake it up. And then everything I have in my laundry room, I have a sink that's kind of, a utility sink that's, you know, is used to having brushes washed out in it, we'll put it that way. But what I do is I just run each bowl under the water until the water runs clear. I mean, it's kind of a lot of water, bit of a waste, I guess, but at least then I know I'm running enough water that it's going to get flushed down and not, drying my pipes. And then I just stick the bowl, and I'll also wash out the shot glass. Shot glass usually, because around the rim where I've been wiping excess off like that, um, that'll start to harden. But I use like it's actually something you get in like automotive supply, like hardware stores or whatnot. But I forget the name of it. But it's like it'll be in an orange pump jug. I think it's called like Gojo Orange or something, but it's an orange scented soap that has like some grit in it, and mechanics use it for cleaning their hands and getting oil and stuff off. So I use that um, to get the dried ink off of that. It usually all comes off within a couple minutes of rubbing and scrubbing, and then that also goes in, and I'll run my dishwasher, basically it's, my time, it's 8:35 now. We've got about 5 minutes left to add in some background here, and, I'll be running the dishwasher with the bowls and the shotgun glasses in it by 9 o'clock. So that's my cleaning thing. And for cleaning the nibs, I just, as I go, I keep them soaking in the water so that the ink doesn't dry and gunk them up. And then I wipe them dry like this on paper towel. Um, that's generally sufficient. There is like a chemical pen cleaner you can use if your nibs get kind of nasty and dried out. Some people don't even bother with that. Some people just at a certain point they just buy new nibs. And I do buy new nibs, but I have nibs like this particular one I think I've had for probably 15 years. I don't know, I just like it. It hasn't crapped out on me yet, so, that's kind of where we're at. Um, you can get, like I said, the, paint cleaning solution, Speedball makes some, and then you would, like, soak your pens in that, and it's supposed to, like, dissolve, dried ink. Um, I do have a very small, ultrasonic cleaner, although it's one my dad refurbished that was originally for, like, I don't know where he got it, but it's, supposed to be like a manicure tools kinda thing. I have used that sometimes when my pens are a little bit, gunked up. because then it's, you use that and leave it running for a couple hours with your nibs in there, and they seem to function better afterwards, so I guess it kind of, breaks up some of the dried crud. So yeah, that's kind of anything else I missed? So yeah, that kind of covers the pens and pencils, ink, and the process and whatnot. Um, and yeah. Oh, and paper, the other thing. What I'm drawing on is Bristol board paper. And I believe this is the Strathmore Bristol, and I prefer the smooth finish on it. Now, this pad is that this one's from does say smooth, but honestly, visually, it looks to me more like vellum. Whereas I have some like smooth Bristol board from you know projects I did 20 years ago, and it's hard to pick up. It won't pick up on camera on my phone. Um, but it's a lot smoother for sure. Because especially this kind of nib will start to dig in and get clogged there. Yeah, no problem with making some time to answer. At some point, I've been meaning to do like a video where it's a tutorial where I explain step by step traditional comics processing and whatnot, but I haven't gotten around to doing that yet. Any brand of ink pens, yeah, for this kind of dip thing, I mean, you can get some nibs on Amazon. Sometimes if they're really cheap, they'll flex and then because it's like two little tines, right? And then the ink gets stuck down there with capillary action. So sometimes if they're really cheap, when you press, they go apart and then you can't make a line. So then you kind of want to not press so hard or press harder. You kind of learn by experimentation. Um, but yeah, for these, you can get them at a pretty reasonable cost. I'm just gonna put a little bit of greenery in the background. Like I said, the Speedball cartooning kit for this is like usually about 20 bucks. But if you just search dip pen, I mean, you get a few different options as well. I don't have any with me right now because my last one broke, but you can also get glass pens, which for super fine lines, um, they're kind of they can be kind of nice. Um, Whereas with this one, like if I press, I get a thicker line, so I can get some variation. Glass pens, of course, you can't do that with, but if you need something that's super fine and precise, they can have a pretty cool look. But yeah, it's just experimentation. I do other cartooning where I use like actual like liner pens, like these, the Statler pigment liners, and pigment pens. But what I find there is the pen's very uniform. So I kind of like the unpredictability of this style, like the dip pens. So Speedball cartooning brand. I think so. This nib might not be Speedball, or it might be Speedball, a different one not sold in the kit, because the cartooning kit I think has 6 nibs. So I know it has uh like this style, the B5 in different sizes. The thicker one I'm using, they used on his cape, that's a B3. And then there's like the B1. So it has that style with like the brass thing, and the brass just traps ink underneath, so you don't have to dip as often. But it'll have a bunch of those, and then it has one that's similar to this, although I think a little smaller. Um, and then like the handle stick, because you can just pop the nibs in and out. So um, like I've bought numerous of those kits over the years, so I have like 4 or 5 of the sticks. Um, trying to think. I may not use I probably was debating trying to show there's a particular bridge in Venice that's kind of famous. I was going to try and draw it over his head, but I think I won't, which is fine because what I'll end up doing is when I scan this, I will just make this part go away. This is the nice part of it. But yeah, brand of ink, you know, certain brands of ink will work better. If you're just starting out, the Speedball Super Black is fine. Um, if you have a Michaels or a Hobby Lobby near you, I assume Hobby Lobby has the same stuff as Michaels. We don't have Hobby Lobby up here in Canada. Um, but Michaels will have the Speedball Super Black. They definitely have they may not call it the cartooning kit for Speedball, but they do have a kit that Speedball, it's got the stick part of the pen and a few different nibs. Um, you could also certainly use a calligraphy pen or a fountain pen or whatnot. Why do I scan them? To digitize. Well, for this one, actually, it's going to be for a print book. But yeah, I have for digitizing for web comics for sure. Although what I usually post on Facebook these days is I will actually, when I go, like, I'm streaming from my phone right now, but when the stream ends, I will, because you know, I've got lights aimed at this and whatnot, a couple of them. So while the lights are still on and whatnot, I will just take my phone and take a photo of it, and you'll even see, like the desk underneath, and I'll just sort of tomorrow post, hey, this is what I drew on last night's stream. Um, and then like the good version, the all tidied up, like I'll do that when I'm assembling the book. Um, so go to Michael's. Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah, you guys then have a bunch of options. But yeah, even Amazon has like the Speedball cart. Like if you do Speedball dip pen or Speedball cartooning pen, like they should come up with that kit, because I think the last time I bought one, I bought it off of Amazon. So I'm assuming if they have it on the Canadian Amazon, they would have it for you guys as well. Uh, I'm just gonna kind of add some visual or some sort of greenery in the background. I may at a later date, if I decide that, yeah, I really want the Venice background, then what I'll do is trace Myles and then use that so I know exactly where he's going to cover things. And I would draw a Venice background from a reference photo that I can then sandwich together in Photoshop. But could also have it where he didn't actually go to Venice, but he had like went to a Venice themed party. Cool. Thanks so much. Yeah, no problem. Um, like different art supply stores too, like Michaels and Hobby Lobby and Amazon are probably the easiest access. But I mean, if you have like um, I know in the States, the big chain, I think, for art supplies is Blix, right? Like Dick Blix, based out of Seattle. They would have all this sort of stuff as well. So, um, I mean, we here in where I live I'm in BC. The big art supply chain that's like not Michaels is Opus. Um, I like Opus. I do business at Opus, but sometimes Michaels is a lot cheaper, And that's considering that Michaels tends to gouge on prices because of the whole coupon thing. But you kind of have to go item by item. Some things are definitely better at Opus or on Amazon or whatnot, and then some things Michaels is a lot better at. Um, so plus, I mean, sometimes the nice thing with Michaels is sometimes they'll have the buy two get one free, or 25% off or whatever. Although usually the coupon here is 30%, so if it just is 25%, you're kinda getting screwed. But, um, I've definitely seen, the dip pen kits and, like, the speedball ink and stuff on at, like, 50% off, or, you know, buy one, get one free or whatever at Michael's. So in that case, then it's a better deal. But the price on that seems to be relatively standard across most places. So, and if you do have a good art supply store, like fine art supply store, you may actually be able to go and just buy just a nib, right? Um, I don't know what the price would be in the States at Opus. Any of these nibs are usually $6 each, which is why I kind of recommend like the cartooning kit because the cartooning kit is 25 Canadian and it has 6 nibs, so it's and the sticks, so it's actually kind of cheaper to do it that way. But if you had, you know, if all you drew with was this particular nib and you wanted to have, say you're working in multiple color inks and you wanted one for each color, then it would make sense to go and just like buy like 4 or 5 of just those, right? But and sometimes they have like specialty nibs that aren't in the kits. So, anyways, it's always kind of good to look around. I'm just gonna make this little thing, which was supposed to be like the railing next to the canal. I'm gonna make it into a fence in the backyard. Like I said, I may change my mind and redraw the background at a later date, but for now, that's gonna work just fine. And then we'll put in an actual horizon sort of around here. Some rolling hills in the background. Yeah, maybe we'll do this as a fence, so it's got a few more posts along the way. It's a little bit messy, but that's okay because it's in the background. Okay, and we'll just kind of put in a little bit of shading along the way here. And sometimes what I do is kind of a bit of a stippling texture, and then that'll just kind of give the sense of gravel or whatever. I think I said earlier the reason why Myles is kind of squatting down is the character he's dressed up as, Pantalone from a commedia dell'arte, is usually supposed to be like an old geezer type of guy. So he's supposed to be kind of hunched over when you're portraying Pantalone, which would probably be murder on the thighs after a couple hours. But maybe he's just doing that right now for a photo, and then he's going to stand up and walk normally. Should the bridge look curved like this? Well, I was gonna draw it as a bridge, because yeah, there's a specific bridge in Venice, which is why I started to draw, and I was like, "Ah, I think I messed it up." So right now, I'm just making it into a fence, like as if he's overlooking a backyard. But I'll kind of debate. I may, when all is said and done and it's dry, I may trace Miles, the outline of Miles, and then kind of transfer that or use a light box or something, um, so that I have the outline of where he's standing, and then I know what space I have to work with, and then I would draw a proper Venice background behind him on the new sheet of paper, and then I can Frankenstein it together in Photoshop. I've had to do that in a couple other projects I've been working on lately, where wasn't happy with the background, and then kind of trace. So yeah, land border. Yeah, land border definitely works that way too. Um, one of the issues if I guess it depends. I may be able to find like a royalty free like public domain image of Venice with the famous bridge and whatnot that I could use as a reference. But otherwise, it's kind of like I haven't been to Venice, so I don't have any photos I have taken of Venice. Um, And since this is going into a book that will eventually be for sale, um, if I can't find I mean, I guess with this sort of stuff too, when it's a famous landmark, you can kind of like look at like 5 or 6 different um, renditions of it and then kind of draw your own version based on that. Um, but yeah, figure out something for the background. In some ways, it's almost funnier if he's not actually in Venice and he's just like doing a Venice costume party at home or something. This will be for a collection of illustrated short stories, but I've decided that when I start working on it, I decided I would work from the art first, so I have not written the short stories yet. Kind of here, just giving a little bit of texture, similar kind of grass kind of texture. So yeah, we'll find out in the end if this ends up being the background that stays with this, or if Miles gets photoshopped into a different background that would be more actually Venice. I guess his outfit's dry enough that I can put my finger down to kind of brace myself. After all, there's different ways I could end up doing a story on this drawing. It could end up being a story of, Miles when he was at prep school having to do like a theater project on commedia dell'arte or something. There's various ways, directions it could go. So it's kind of the opposite to how I normally work. Normally, I have the short stories written and then I go like, okay, I'm going to illustrate this scene, blah blah blah, and then I draw it. Whereas for this Miles project, it was like I'm just picking random words for each letter of the alphabet, and then I'm drawing based on those, and I do not have the story yet. So that will come later. Let's add a few more boards into this fence. Do I add clouds into the sky? I usually add clouds into the sky, but maybe that's a reason not to add clouds into the sky. And you know what? I think I'm going to leave the sky blank, so no clouds. And I think that's gonna be it for tonight. So let's have a little review. I know I've shown the previous drawing a few times as folks have asked me about this one and the character. But, this is the first one we, did. Thanks, you did like Inside. Oh, thank you, that's awesome. I stream basically Monday through Friday in the evenings, so, well, evening my time. So there's more to for sure. Um, so this is the, first drawing we did tonight. Miles V this is the V. Illustration's going with V, so vending machine, there's his candy bar, it's not giving him his money back, so he's gonna take matters into his own into his own hands. And then the one we just finished is Miles dressed as Pantalone, wearing Venetian masks. Is he gonna be in Venice? I don't know. We right now he's looks like he's in a backyard. But we may adjust and do vending machines. Um, or and put him in Venice. So with this one, why is he at a vending machine? Well, so with this project, I've kind of been going through the alphabet and choosing 2 to 3 random words that kind of spark an idea of something I could draw. So this is V, And I just, as soon as I kind of was flipping through a dictionary, saw vending machine. I'm like, I just had an instant memory of every time a vending machine is eating my dollar and not giving me my candy or my chips or whatever. And I figured that would be a fun thing to draw Myles having a little meltdown over, because I could see him. At first, I wasn't sure if he was going to be like taking a flying kick at the machine, but then I figured we'd see his back and not his face. So I figured, let's draw him with a Louisville Slugger. So he's at the vending machine because it's fun. And then the overall project is called Miles Mars Pursuit of Happiness. So whether I would do a separate story just about the vending machine, or whether this would be a scene mixed with one of the other drawings I've done of him where he's just having a terrible day or something like that, I haven't decided yet because I haven't written the stories. Um, in this case, I'm doing sort of phase one, going through the alphabet, doing a couple pages per letter. So when I get to Z, then I'm going to kind of set this aside, work on a different project, at least on stream on Mondays, and then decide what I'm doing with the stories, write them. And then if I need to do additional illustrations for the stories, then we'll come back and do that. So there we have our couple of Miles drawings for today. So for tomorrow night's stream, we are working on Noah Thorson, what I was calling the 2027 calendar project. I'm actually going to turn it into a book of days, but we're going to continue on the next, 5 illustrations for August, September, etc. We're definitely doing August tomorrow. I don't know if we'll get to September. They've been kind of taking 2 hours per drawing lately. Then Wednesday, we'll be working on a different project, Zomo the Destroyer, and drawing Zomo's secret basement lab. So that's going to be dip pen and ink, similar to this. Thursday, we are working on a Noah's Archipelago coloring book. So that'll be the marker pens, fine liners. And then Friday, Miles's cousin's boyfriend, Ricky B, the rock and roll rat. We are doing a couple pages from Ricky B Goes to Sea, which is a graphic novel I'm working on. And Leaf, you're asking, am I self-taught or classically trained? I mean, as a kid, I always took art in high school, so I have training from that perspective. Um, and I've taken lots of like random, like, like 6-week night classes type of thing over the years. So, including one that I took 20 years ago at Emily Carr in Vancouver that was called the Contemporary Comic, where I learned the traditional comic process. So, like the blue underdrawing and the pen and all that. So, I guess sort of a bit of both. Oh, Zol or Salt. No, it's Zamo, Zamo. It's actually the original web comic I did back in the MySpace era. So it's this obnoxious talking iguana, which is loosely based on, well, my iguana. I had an iguana for 10 years. She did not talk, but she had an attitude, and her attitude inspired the Zamo comics. I haven't actually worked on Zamo in many years, and then it occurred to me at this point, I guess about 3 months ago, that it was the 20th anniversary of when I started that comic, and I had never done a book of all the Zamo comics. Um, so that's where that came from, and I'm just kind of getting some bonus material ready. So that then over the summer, I'm gonna go through, scan all the comics, and they're done mostly the same style, like dip pen and same size. But in the MySpace era, if you wanted a big image, it would only be 600 pixels high. So now, now, of course, that's not big enough for print, so I have to rescan all of them. And I figured I'd take the opportunity to do a few extra bonus comics. So, iguana, why an iguana? Well, because I had a pet iguana for like 10 years in the 90s. So, funny you should mention the Geico gecko. It was kind of a bit of a running gag with Samo because I did it as the web comic, and then later I didn't have time to draw it, but I revived it as like actually a podcast where I
I would do this really annoying cartoon voice because I figure the iguana is going to be kind of nasally, you know.
Anyways, I do it like that. And in the podcast era, there was a running gag about um, Zomo being very prejudiced against geckos and thinking that it should have been an iguana selling car insurance or whatever. Uh, so, yeah, so that project's very close to being done. I think the secret basement lab drawings I'm going to do this week is going to be the last of the bonus comics for that Zomo book, but there will be more Zomo stuff done because, like I said, I did it as a podcast. I did like 200 episodes of the podcast. So I'm going to turn the podcast scripts into short stories and illustrate those, and that's going to be an ongoing project for a long time. But what I'm going to be starting probably next week on the Zomo streams on Wednesdays is illustrating a particular podcast episode that was a really long one called The World According to Zomo. And it'll be kind of like an introduction for anybody who hasn't run into Zomo. So, yeah, a whole bunch of different projects on the go. And like I said, I stream Monday through Friday. And yeah, so that's there we have it. So I am going to call it for tonight. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for hanging out in the chat, and we'll see you again real soon. So bye for now, and bye-bye, Myles. Take care. Yeah, no problem, Leaf. Thanks for stopping by. See you soon.